What is up, guys? So last week we had a look at doing some bendy bass lines for Psytrance tracks, and I promised I'm going to show you guys a second way of doing that today. So let's dive in and have a look. So last week we had a look at making those bendy bass lines using an LFO, and today I'm going to show you guys how to do a similar effect but using the Portamento or glide setting. So let's dive in and have a look. So we created this glide bass effect last week. So now we're going to look at making a similar sound but using the glide or portamento effect. And this is cool if you want to use very specific notes. So say for example you want to glide from like the from G to C or something like that, then you've got a lot more control in that regard. It's going to be a lot harder to work out the exact semitones using the LFO and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you guys a quick way of doing that. So first things first, let's duplicate our bass line over here, and then we can just right click, select all events and hit delete, just so we've got a blank slate there. And what we want to do is let's draw in a MIDI clip. So I forgot to mute this this sound that we made last week, so let's just mute that over here. And then we want to draw in a MIDI pattern similar to this. So if we play it, there's not going to be much of the effect going on right now, so we're going to have to set up a couple of the parameters inside Serum. So let's open up Serum and do that quickly. So the idea is the main things that we want to look for is we want to turn off the LFO or the sort of envelope. If you're using an envelope instead, we want to turn off those settings on the filter. So let's just right click on here. You can either remove or bypass all destinations if you want to maybe change it later on. And then let's just adjust the cutoff up a little bit. And now it's important to switch this mono and turn this portamento up. So I'm not sure what the sort of milliseconds will be, but we'll listen and we'll find the best setting depending on the type of glide effect that we want to use. So for now, let's just set it to about 175 and let's listen to the effect that's going on here. So what we want to do is we also want to just disable the sidechain or LFO tool if we're using that. And I think we've made it a little bit long, so let's try to do something like this rather over like one beat. Let's hear how this sounds. I think we've turned the cutoff a little bit high. We just want to get the low frequencies coming through because obviously it's a bass sound. So we just want to adjust this to suit the track or to suit the sound that we're using. So here's where the portamento or glide effect has an advantage of using an LFO, is you're able to adjust the pitch at which the notes are playing at rather than a sort of static LFO type of effect. And this is cool if you want to have varying drops throughout the track, like different notes that it's sliding from and stuff like that, or if you want to create more complex slide patterns. So let's look at doing something like that. So let's say, for example, slide from the 7th semitone down to the root note. So how we can do that is we can just move this down an octave by holding shift and pressing down. And then we can just press up 7 times to get to the 7th semitone. And then let's listen to what that sounds like. Let's turn off this other oscillator because I think it's creating too much sort of variation in the sound. And it's sounding more like a synth than a bass at the moment. So now we can maybe program in something a little bit more complex. So for this now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the scale that I'm programming into C minor because I kind of know all the notes that are in C minor scale, and I'm going to transpose the MIDI track up by +3. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to post a link to a video which is going to explain that. But so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move both of these notes down by 3, 1, 2, 3. And then the actual MIDI channel itself, we can just go here, Midi Modifiers, and go +3. So now I can program in something a little bit more complex. So let's go for something like maybe like this. So now, depending on the sort of MIDI pattern that you've programmed in, you might want to adjust the Portamento time over here, or the glide time, to suit the pattern that you've programmed in. So it sounds like what I've done now, it sounds like it's kind of moving a little bit fast, so I'm going to adjust it to suit the sound better. So again, I'm going to bounce that out, and then we've got 2 different variations that we can use in the track, or 3 because we actually made 2 last week. And then we can further create different sort of progressions using different MIDI patterns and sort of audition which ones suit which parts of the track. So that's a very handy tip. I actually use this a lot, and it's pretty handy. I'm going to show you another cool trick what you can do now with it. Let's just go here, render in place, render with current settings. This is also good for creating those sort of halftime breaks in your bars, something like this. So what we can do is we can actually just copy these along over here, and let's just edit this one slightly. Maybe mute these 2 first notes, unmute the entire clip, and just listen to what this sounds like. Cool, so we can bounce that out as well, and then use that as our sort of like halftime breaks for the sections as you want to sort of start building up the sort of perceived tempo of the track. Like as you want to sort of start building up the energy, you want to start incorporating more of these sort of halftime breaks into the track, and that sort of creates the feel that the track is sort of moving a lot quicker than it is. So you also want to vary it up a bit. So let's say, for example, every second one we want 1 beat break, and then this one will have like a 2 beat break. Remove the kick here, maybe the percussion's there as well, and then we can actually drop this one in here that we made last week. Let's hear how this sounds.
But my body was doing things it had never done before.
Awesome, so that's how I make the bendy bassline drops using the Portamento glide effect. Let me know in the comments if that helped you guys out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this patch as usual to my Patreon for my $5 supporters. If you guys are keen to grab that amongst all the other patches that I make during my tutorials, head on over there and check out the details. If you haven't yet, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time.